everybody. We are back with Tag from Life Done Free. Tag, how's it going?
Good. Plug-in.
You ready to start talking about the principles? I think we had a pretty good video last week. It was did you get any hate mail?
No, I got no hate mail.
I didn't either, man. I'm feeling like a failure here.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't talked to Spags. He's out dove hunting this week.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what he says when he gets back.
Yeah. Well, no, I have no hate mail, no nothing. I did have an interesting email on another one of my videos that was talking about how abandoning the elections is a fool's stand. I never said to abandon them, but although we could talk about that another day, but
That's a topic I want to talk about seriously.
Yeah.
But and we'll probably get around to it at some point down the road with these principles.
Yeah.
All right, so we're doing principles 12 and 13 today. So we're going to start with principle 12, and it is the United States of America shall be a republic, period. End of sentence. Yeah, and unfortunately we're Republican in name only now. You know,
we are not a republic.
In name only.
Yeah, we're not.
You know, Article 1.2.1 of the Constitution sets forth that gives the American people the right to vote for their own representatives, thereby making the United States a constitutional republic of the people. The 10th Amendment is what sets that down. You know, it's kind of sad because people at some point in history started conflating democracy with the constitutional republic. And that runs completely contrary to the Constitution of the United States. And how do we fix that? How do we change that so that people understand that democracy is not what we want? It's September 1st right now, and the president of the United States is going to get on TV tonight, and he's going to tell people that certain portions of our population are a danger to democracy.
Yeah, more divide. But the thing is, it's not. I don't think it's about all that. I think it's just about keeping us divided, because divided we're weak.
Yeah.
You know, people talk. I've had Billy Bond the other day. I was on his show, and he was talking about, you know, is freesteading going to be a home for everybody? You know, gay, straight, Christian, non-Christian, Republican, Democrat, whatever. I'm like, heck yeah. Why do we got to be divided? You know, they're just trying to divide us and keep us divided.
Well, and I you know, speaking to that, I think that just the very nature of what it's about is gonna weed people out that don't want to be there, because the idea of freedom is antithetical to them. You know, so I think that's not going to be an issue, because like-minded people are going to flock there. Anybody that goes there trying to be disruptive is there solely for that reason. You know, that doesn't mean that tempers aren't going to flare. I mean, that's part of just dealing with your fellow human beings. You know, we're not all going to agree. You know, the thing about it being a republic is that anything not detailed in the Constitution is supposed to go to the states, and the states are supposed to decide. And somehow Bobby last week talked about the interstate clause, and that's been a wedge they've been able to drive in and take control away from the states. And this whole movement that we're trying to start with alternative economies and alternative revenue streams goes right around that. Seriously, it short circuits that federalism right at the very base of it. You know, and that's why I think what we're trying to do here, and what everybody's signing on for, is such a radical and revolutionary thing.
You know? Yeah, I think it's amazing. You know, we're told that we live in a democracy our whole childhood. You go to school, it's a democracy. I mean, I've heard the president several times say, you know, it's the democracy, the greatest democracy. And I'll tell you something, that I believe it to be a democracy. That's what we live in today. Like, a lot of people say it's socialism, but I don't think so. I think we truly live in a democracy, and we have definitely gotten away from the constitutional republic. And I think kind of this is something I was hoping we could talk about a little bit tonight is what's the difference?
Yeah, go
What's
for it.
yeah, what's the fundamental difference? And it's interesting. You guys know I'm a business guy. And so I look at it like a democracy is like having a stakeholder in a company, and a constitutional republic is like having a shareholder. And that democracy is not compatible with security or personal property because it's mob rules, right? It's based upon feelings, right? That's what a democracy is, right? Majority rules. It's based upon feelings versus, like a constitutional republic's attitudes towards like property, it's based on the rule of law. It's, kind of tends to avoid tyranny, mob rule, results in statesmanship, a lot of that kind of stuff. But I think it really comes down to the difference between a stakeholder and a shareholder. And you cannot have a capitalist society and a democracy at the same time.
But I think you're missing a key component there. At the state level, it's more of a democracy than at the federal level. And the reason that they did that, at the state level, we can have a democracy because it's a sovereign entity and we're all part of that one. If you take that democracy up to the federal level and you got majority rules, then that's when you start having problems. That's one of the reasons why they did the electoral college the way they did, so that would kind of alleviate that problem with majority rules, the big states ruling over the small states, because the state sovereignty, when they were discussing the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalists, that was the big discussion. Was do we put everything down on the states where the people have a direct input into their elected officials, or do we have more emphasis on the federalism where they're electing representatives and going to Washington D.C. to make the decisions?
But that's the state level too. I mean, you're representing your representative from your district, and that goes then to the state house and lines.
We are much closer connected to the democratic process at the state and local level than we are at the federal level. And the democratic process, unfortunately, can be easily corrupted. The larger it becomes and the more moving parts involved in it, the easier it is to corrupt. But you got me talking. Now my throat's all dry.
That's good, man.
I'm not used to talking this much.
That's my job.
But
a democracy enhances someone's propensity for power. It just does. And the whole point of the Constitution was to protect us from man's propensity for power.
Well, and okay, since you're bringing that subject up, because that ties directly in with Principle 13. Principle 12, as far as I'm concerned, it's a very simple sentence. The United States of America shall be a republic. I mean, it's not hard to understand. There's not really much discussion there.
But I think it's important to note that I believe that the founding fathers didn't even trust themselves. And what they were building in the Constitution was a way to deal with human nature, nothing more, nothing less.
That's exactly the point of Principle 13. So let's go ahead and talk that. We can come back and discuss 12 if we want. But 13 is a constitution should be structured to permanently protect people from the human frailties of their rulers. And this statement there's a twofold discussion that comes out of that statement. The first one is the structure of the government. I mean, that's what it deals with. I mean, the Constitution builds the government. The second part of that is they're dealing with the nature of man, which is exactly what you were talking about. They did not trust people to hold power. In fact, they felt that no single man could be entrusted with absolute power. That's why they were so adamant. There was a group that wanted to turn George Washington into the king, wanted to make him a king instead of the first president. And thank God he was enlightened enough that he stepped back and he said, no, that we just walked away from that. We do not need that again. You know, so and I know it's cliched, but absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Mhm.
You know, and it plays right into the fallen nature of man.
But I don't think it was just that.
Okay.
Okay, I think there's another piece of that, which is the whole back to number 12. You know, it was the democracy versus a constitutional republic, that you also have to curb, you know, the drift and the popular trends and all of this stuff that would sway. Right. I mean, the problem with that is, you know, people in a democracy, they're busy, they're not paying attention to, you know, the things that are going on. They're self-absorbed, they're doing all of these other things that are going on. And if you're not also protecting that, then I mean, I think there's two sides to that, both the populace and the, in this particular case, the rulers.
Yeah. Well, and as I was doing some research on this week, a lot of the text kept turning back to the religious standings of all the people that signed the Declaration of Independence and help make the Constitution. And the one thing I found something, it was some reverend, I didn't write his name down. He's a modern guy. He was doing commentary, and he made the point. He said something along the lines of, let me see where I've got it in my notes. The basic difference between the political spectrums in their view, or is their views of the nature of man. And he used liberal and conservative, and I don't feel comfortable with that, because liberal has a connotation that is not correct. I mean, even in describing the neo-socialists, it's not correct, because there are liberals on the Republican side, and there are liberals that claim to be conservatives. But the liberal believes man is basically good and capable of perfection, and the conservative says no, he is innately evil and fallen, and we must face that reality. And I think that's what the founders did by structuring the government the way they did. You know, they understood that people were going to behave in a manner that was not conducive to freedom, and it's just the nature of man. And the thing that I find really paradoxical about that whole liberal versus conservative in that sense is that the people that think man can rise above everything and are basically good and capable of perfection have such faith in their ability that they have to legislate it to the point where they're taking people's rights away. I don't understand that. You can't legislate perfection, just like you can't legislate morality.
Yeah.
And
I don't know I don't know who's good. Gee, I don't know who said it, but there was a quote that said, "Government is not reason; it's force."
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know who said that, but
You know,
yeah, I like that one a lot.
but that's, you know, Clausewitz took that to its natural ending right there. Is war is nothing but an extension of politics, and war is nothing but pure force. So what does that make politics? You know?
Yeah, the root of all evil in our world.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but at the end of the day, bud, you know, democracy, you know, has taken over. You know, I guess these lessons kind of blur to me a little bit, but you know, but it's, you know, they've taken over tech, media, Hollywood, college campuses, right? When I'm talking about democracy, I'm talking about feelings, right? Or we're more subjugated to the way somebody feels about, I'm offended by this, or you know, companies that used to be all about profit, right, which is capitalism, you know, to a shareholder, are now about catering to an employee or catering to special interest groups or campuses or Hollywood, or you know whatever it is. I mean, little things like, you know, your entrance into college today based upon an SAT score. The lower the SAT score, the lower the requirements to get into college, right? Yeah. And the higher you do, I mean, it's just all this insanity. So it's not capitalism or a constitutional republic anymore. It is 100% a democracy, in my opinion. And some could argue socialism, but I think it's a democracy, and it may be a reverse democracy in some regard, because we're, you know, catering to the small groups. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and folks, don't think I'm anti-democracy, because I think at the small local level, I think it works great. The New England Town Hall, in my opinion, is probably the best governance for a community, a small community. The problem is the more people you get involved, the harder it is to pull democracy off, because at the end of the day, democracy is two wolves and a sheep discussing who's for dinner or what's for dinner, you know.
Yeah,
And
but you just said you were for that. In some cases, you're for democracy. So you're for two wolves and a sheep discussing what's for dinner.
at the small local level, it works, especially with the Second Amendment.
Yeah, poor sheep.
You what?
I said poor sheep.
Well, unless the sheep's armed, and the sheep has a say in the matter,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's but and that again, that just speaks to the wisdom of the founding fathers, that they wrote the Second Amendment specifically for that occasion, you know, because at the end of the day, that it's not the people that are going to be the problem in a democracy. The problem is going to be the government, just plain and simple. I mean, that's historically true. It's if it turns out to be not true in the United States, then we will have bucked a trend that has been around since two people got together and formed the first government.
I don't know, but I don't know that I agree with that. You know, one of my biggest fears, G, is that as democracy continues on, that someone says, "Hey, Tag, you own too much land. It's not fair."
Well, and they
You
already say that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, so that's what democracy is, right? Two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. You
Yeah.
know, and I don't know, that whole democracy thing, mob rules. You know, it's the greatest transfer of wealth in human history, and you
Well,
know,
and again, you know, you're neglecting the point that I said at the small scale. At the small scale, it works. I mean, it's been proven to work for a couple of centuries in our country. You know, it's democracy does not scale well. It
does
does
not
not.
scale.
It does not scale well at all. It's way easier to have a democracy with 10 people than with 100,000 people. You know, and you your fear about the whole somebody saying that it's not fair speaks directly to principle number 14. In fact, I think next week people are going to really, they're going to get a kick out of that when some of your views on that, because
Well, then when you start getting into things like property rights,
Mhm.
I think property rights are the single biggest injustice in the world, in the United States of America today. And
Right.
if I were the president, I would attack that with everything I had in me, because I just think it's that important. But I don't want to derail into 14. But
No, that's fine. That's fine. I thought about doing it today, but I I wanted to separate it out from these two, because these two set up 14 and 15. Um, by because the way the government's structured is supposed to protect our rights, and one of the basic rights is personal property. And the way the government's structured, and the way that it's set up as a constitutional republic, was specifically meant to protect that right. And if you read a lot of the founding fathers writings, personal property was a huge thing with them. I mean, that was part of the grievances. I don't have it up in front of me, but you know, the bordering of troops in people's houses, that's a direct violation of personal property right there. You know, and that that's the basis of everything that started this. You know, so 12 and 13, the ideas behind them allow a government to be formed that will protect that right, or all the rights, not just that right, but all the rights. You know, and unfortunately, you know, I got a real problem with anybody that sits there and tells me, "Oh, people are basically good," because you you cannot point as humanity as a whole through the history, and even in my, you know, today, you cannot point to humanity as a whole and come to that conclusion. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Well, I think I would counter argue this, Bud, that good is arbitrary.
uh, there's a certain truth in that. I will not lie. Case in point, there's the only good Indian is a dead Indian. That was popular. That was right, quote unquote, back in the mid 1800s. Was it morally right? No, it wasn't.
When in my bubble, none of it would have been right.
Well, and that's the whole point.
But
right is
when
not
you get
arbitrary.
when you start getting into words like good,
Uh-huh.
good by its very it's good is a matter of opinion. Good is arbitrary, right? It just is.
Okay, maybe I'm conflating using good with when I should be using moral.
Moral is arbitrary.
No, not if you
not to you, not to you, because your morals are absolute.
Well, and anybody can argue that,
of course,
but the proof is in the pudding. You know, I can it's it's not arbitrary, it's subjective. And there's the problem. The problem is the laws of nature and the divine law set down an absolute moral baseline. It sets down a baseline. And do I live by that baseline all the time? No, I do not. I am a flawed person. My witness is terrible. I'm a terrible witness, but I try. I really try hard. I try harder now than I used to. But
our founding fathers knew that we needed to mistrust our leaders. And the reason for that is because morals are arbitrary. Because the only absolute was what came from our creator, which is why they based it out of the creator, right? They said, okay, here's the rules we're going to live by. And the only thing that isn't arbitrary, right? Because how do you say God's word is arbitrary, right? It's God's word.
Yeah.
Or natural law's word. But everything else beyond that was human. And because it was human, we were flawed. I mean, in the very, and let me scroll up here, and you actually quoted it. It says to protect the people from the human frailties of their rulers.
Yep.
Right? Which is kind of what I was really getting at, was just that, is good people left in this world? Well, I think if you were talking to a bunch of, and well, I'm gonna pick on a group, a bunch of liberals who, and again, that's a bad word too, right? Isn't that even proves it right there too, that even the word liberals are arbitrary in a lot of ways. But a bunch of the super far left, which I would not consider myself part of, even I think a large percent of them believe what they're doing is good.
Yes, that you're absolutely correct. Hang on a second. You're absolutely correct with that. I think the disconnect we're having here is my inability to eloquently say what I'm trying to say, because I am using words like good. I am using words like that, and in my mind, good is subjective. I will say that people look at it subjectively. They should not look at it subjectively. All right, that's the whole point. There's a moral baseline, and right is being as close to that moral baseline as you can get. Do we reach that baseline? Not very few of us do. And anybody that tells you that they reach that baseline is probably lying to you, or lying to themselves worse.
But the definition of good should come out of that natural law. But we're so far removed from that natural law, and we're so programmed that there are people, and you see the commercials of people screaming about this, and all the craziness, Tide Pod shit that believe they're good.
Yeah. Well, and there's a segment of the political spectrum that has already decided that it's a good thing to kill people that disagree with them. We saw that all through 2019, 2020, 2021. And unfortunately, I think it's going to get worse. I honestly do. Especially, I mentioned the president's speech tonight. If it is what everybody says if he says what everybody says he's going to say, it's going to get worse.
Are you going to watch it?
I don't know if I could stomach that, man. My TV, we got a real expensive TV, and I don't want to have to replace it. You know, I just can't. I'll wait till it's over, and then I'll read some of the commentary on it, and I'll read the transcript, because I I tend not to get quite as upset when I'm reading the transcript as when I'm hearing it live.
I'm gonna say, yeah, be careful of the commentary, because that's just an arbitrary spin as well.
Well, and I know that. And I'm probably, some of the commentary I'm going to get is probably going to come out of an echo chamber.
Yeah.
But
I will not watch it.
I can't. Part of me really wants to. I think they were talking about some of the leak stuff, because they leaked the transcript of the speech beforehand, and they were talking about it, and it's not very unifying. Let's just put it that way. And
I'm telling you, like we started this whole conversation with, it is critical we stay divided. It is critical.
For them, yes, it is.
For them, it is. It is absolutely critical. They will continue it on, and they talk about as the collapse of a civilization. And I don't want to derail this, but anyone that gets into the Tytler cycle, which is a super fascinating read, when they talk about that the more absurd, the worse that it becomes, the more absurd the rules become.
Right.
Yeah, we're at a crash course for all that.
Yep. I cannot argue with that.
Yeah. And don't be surprised if you see a statement about the Constitution being obsolete.
Well, and that was I actually wrote something down about that. The separation of powers and checks and balances limit the governmental powers against human frailties. And my first thought on that was, that's exactly why the Constitution will never be obsolete or outdated. Because as a document, if followed, it stops that. It stops it dead in its tracks. And again, the Principle 13 is about building a constitution. And one of the reasons we're in the state we're in today, one of the reasons why we feel the need to create freesteading.com, one of the reasons that we feel we need to create alternative revenue streams and economies, is because the Constitution is not being followed. And we've got Supreme Court judges that are sitting on the bench that look to foreign law instead of the U.S. Constitution for guidance. Folks, there you go. There's my black pill. I just crammed a great big black pill down your throat. So now I'm going to give you a white pill. Okay. So Tag, how do we, if that's the case, if what I said is true, how do we fight that? Not even fight. I don't even want to say fight, because there's a bad connotation there. How do we counter that as a group? Or let's start with the individual first. What can the individual do to counter the eroding of Constitution and the destruction of the constitutional republic?
Yeah, so I need to take a step back.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the revolutionary guy real quick.
Okay.
This comes up all the time. I believe that in today's world, that the revolutionary is actually counterproductive to the system. Let me explain.
Okay.
So if everyone wants to get mad and whatever, and go storm whatever it is, what happens is that first of all, they lose. And the second thing that happens is the powers that be become more powerful, because they're allowed to enact laws and are now doing like the Patriot Act, right, as an example, or whatever it is. So the powers that be get stronger, and we get weaker when that.
Hang on a second. Let's clarify something here, because I think I know where you're going, but I think you said the revolutionary. Now, freesteading is revolutionary. So what type?
I'm more referring to the guy waving the flag saying we need a revolution.
The Minuteman.
Good. Sorry.
The whole Minuteman concept. Yeah. Where I'm going to grab my rifle and I'm going to head to the sound of the drums.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think in that situation, it actually makes the problem worse. And I think what we can do now, back to the thing about what is it we can do? I think what we have to really do is break ties from the system and quit feeding it. We have to starve the beast. And the way you starve the beast in a lot, there's just so many ways to do it. And I've talked about this in some of my videos. And like, I'll give you a very, very simple example. When you fill out your taxes at the beginning of the year, take the maximum withholdings on your W-4 form. Because what this does is it doesn't give that money to the beast to roll it, turn it, invest it, send it overseas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You keep the money, which means you're still going to pay it. But then that money's back in your side working for you, again, starving the beast. And there's a lot of these little examples that we can do that begin to cut the system off. And then you grow from the little things of the W-4 to bigger things like get off the grid. Stop paying an electric bill, because when you stop paying an electric bill, you're doing three really big important things. One, you're making yourself more independent, super big win. But what you're also doing is you're paying less taxes because you don't have all those energy taxes. That revenue that would have gone to those taxes, again, is starving the beast, right? Furthermore, you're not buying your electricity from these big conglomerates. These big conglomerates use that money that you pay them to lobby Congress for more of your taxpayers' dollars. So not only are you starving the governmental beast, you're starving the corporate beast as well, and making yourself independent. These things.
Didn't you just start a video series on this?
I did.
It's kind of funny.
It's all bad.
You know what? I did not mean to go here. I was not doing that to pimp your video, but
it's all good.
It's such a contemporary topic, and it's so important right now that it seems like every time we get 2 or 3 people together, not just here on the video, but in real life, like-minded people are on freesteading, the conversation always seems to turn to that. And it's not just us. It's just not just our group, because we do have a core group of people, and we all interact together, and we tend to discuss the same things. But I'm noticing on freesteading, there's a lot of people coming to the same conclusion at the same time.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the reasons why freesteading's taken off like it is because people see like-minded individuals, and they see ideas that they are trying to do, and it's drawing them in like moss to a light.
Yeah, well, I've got some more real practical things we can do. I mean, I think this is a multiple prong attack. And I think as we begin to separate from the system, and there's a lot of ways to do this, and I'm going to continue to explore these, on my channel a lot as we go along, a ways to kind of break from the system. But there's things we can do inside of the system too that helps. We talk about, I got this big conversation with this guy about election integrity and, trusting the elections. And although I have no faith at a federal level anymore, I do have some faith on the local level. I think we can control who gets elected as sheriff. And a lot of people, if you don't understand the constitutional power of a sheriff, you need to go read it. Okay, it is so important. I would put your local sheriff up there with about any elected position, profession there in your particular county or whatever it is. I'm very lucky in that in my county we have a member of the Constitutional Sheriff's Coalition right here, which is super lucky. But so get involved and go and vote locally, for your sheriff. And here's another one, your county commissioners. County commissioner is so important because what they do is they control a lot of the spending, right? If county, needs to raise taxes, quite often that's all done right through there. Run for county commissioner. Let's talk about the school boards, right? I mean, we talked about how that we're now a democracy, and that democracy started by infiltrating the schools. And what our kids learn today is how politics run a generation from now. Mm-hmm. Get involved on your school board. Go to the PTA meetings. Boy, I tell you what, my local schools, when I walk in the door, they know. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say, hey, we're not teaching this shit here. And if you are, I'm pulling my kids.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you want to know where the important positions are, where we really need to focus our energies on. Look at where all the liberal, big money, dark money, Soros's money and all that stuff. Look at where they're putting that money at the local level. He had through the early 2000s, he had the district attorney project where he dumped a whole bunch of money into local district attorney races to get people that supported his stance. So they're in there. And now they're dumping a lot of money into the sheriff's races because they figured out that the sheriff's department or the sheriff's position was a really important one. And just in a nutshell, folks, go read up on it. But in a nutshell, your county sheriff is the lowest elected official in the nation that can enact constitutional law.
Mhm.
That's why they are so important, you know.
Mhm.
And then the other one, the Chinese actually in Georgia before the 2016 election, the Chinese siphoned money in there
Mhm.
for what was it, for vote registration and getting people out to vote. And so they were dumping money into that process. So there's three things right there that the people that are anti-freedom and want to take our rights away. There's three places right there where they're putting their efforts in. So that should tell you where what they think is important.
Yeah, and I think there's one more big way that we can impact all this, G.
How's that?
And that is, we need to gang up. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to move to somewhere with a bunch of like-minded people. Start. If we can start bringing
Amen.
more and more people, and we get to control the political narrative, the school narrative, the sheriff narrative, and yeah, guys, you're leaving one place, which leaves one less, freedom fighter there, but it passes in another spot, which allows us to be involved at the local level and then exit the system.
Right. Right. You know, and that's how many folks, if you're watching this video, go over to Tag's channel. And he did a couple of videos, two within the last 30 days, I think, where he's showing properties that are near where he lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole reason he's doing that is to try to entice a like-minded person into moving into the area.
Yeah.
That
And this took a lot of discernment on my end. We thought a lot about the dangers of it.
mm-hmm.
You're showing this to the world. But here's the thing is that I'm going to get an unknown either way.
Right.
No matter what happens in this equation, I'm going to get an unknown. My choice is just a pure unknown or a like-minded unknown. And I think when you're talking about playing the 83 or playing the numbers game, I'd rather take my chances with the like-minded unknown.
You know how you stack the deck with that, don't you, Tag?
Hmm.
Political political persuasion is not a protected class,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where real estate agents come in.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn and Shelby Tate started a website, Red State Realtors, and
Mm-hmm.
Yoda was the Red State Realtor for the state of Missouri. She was the only one that signed up for it. But real estate agents can vet people. So if you know people in the area that are real estate agents and they're like-minded, have them vet people. And and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but Yoda flat out told a couple of people, you do not need to move here.
Mm-hmm.
When she found out their politics, because invariably and this is anecdotal, this is my experience from dealing with Yoda. People that are like-minded like us and conservative tend to keep it close to the vest when they're talking to strangers, whereas people of the opposite persuasion tend to announce it to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like I said, that's anecdotal. So take it for what it's worth. All right. But like I said, politics is not a protected class, and we need to use that. They use these things against us on a constant basis. They attack us from every single angle possible. And there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't do it back.
Yeah, I would hope that real estate agent would consider more than political class, because at the end of the day, G, and you know this about me, I like the Republicans about as much as I like the Democrats.
Okay, I say political class. I don't mean Democrats and Republicans. I
I'm
mean,
just saying it, so I say it, so I feel better.
okay,
I don't go finish this video and say, I really wish you would have said that.
okay. So,
So
well, Tag has stated his position, and I've stated mine, is that I am not talking about Democrats and Republicans. I am talking about people that want the government in my business.
Yeah.
Right.
Say no to the Republicrats.
Yes, they come in many forms and colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and at the end of it all, that's how we protect 12 and 13. That's how we keep those principles alive and we keep them protected. We have to be discerning, and we have to be active in what's going on in our communities. And when I say active, I mean, we need to get out there and proactively prep the battlefield, because that's what it is. We're prepping the battlefield right now. And
Yep.
quite frankly, people may disagree with me on this. We're not going to see the true fight for freedom in our lifetime. I don't think it's going to happen. We're going to see bits and pieces of it. We may see some pitched battles, but we will not see the fruition of it. You know, we're planting a tree right now that our grandkids are going to be able to sit under.
Right. We are playing chess for the freedom of our kids and grandkids.
Right. Right. You know, and there's a whole conversation to be had there.
I picked the word chess on purpose. I wanted to use another word, but I was trying to keep you on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, and there's a whole thing there, because, you know, you talked about the Minuteman Patriot, right? Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with being that passionate.
Nope.
There's absolutely nothing wrong. So don't think, people, if you're one of those people, please don't think that we're disparaging it. We're not. It's an integral part of the whole process of staying free. All right. But if we're not advocating violence, and we are saying there's a peaceful way to do it, you know, people may become complacent and stop thinking about the Second Amendment as much. Mm-hmm. And we don't want that to happen, because I personally, as we become more successful at the nonviolent route, the prospects of the government striking back and doing what Spags talked about last week in the video increases greatly, because a wounded beast is dangerous, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to wound the beast. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, I prefer the word starve.
Starve. Okay.
But either way, right? 6-1. Well, guys, I think at the end of the day, I'm not, and I want to talk to that Minuteman, you know, that we were talking about too. Amazing that you would be willing to give up your, you know, fortune, your liberty, right? Everything you know for that greater cause, and, you know, keep that passion, but tunnel it, focus it, you know, focus it, guys. I'm telling you that the opposition, man, you just can't, I'm telling you, it ain't going to work. All that's going to happen is we're going to give them more power. What we have to do is take the fight another way. You got to vote with your dollar. Yeah. Which is the only vote, in my opinion, that really matters much anymore. Maybe, like I said, maybe a little bit on the local level, but just vote with your dollar. And it don't matter what it costs. If you're going to make the argument that you'd rather have the overseas tomato because it's 50 cents cheaper than the American tomato, then you're the problem.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. That will probably get me hate mail, but anyway.
Yeah, you know what? If people are offended by that, maybe they need to be offended. I wish I could. That's a line out of a Suicidal Tendency song, and I really wish I could quote the entire line, but that would get me in trouble. Yeah. So go look up that line, that lyric in a Suicidal Tendency song. But all right, listen, this has been a great conversation. Second week in a row. Be quite honest with you, I wasn't sure what was going to come out of this recording. Seriously, the premise behind both the principles today are pretty damn simple, you know. And the only thing I could find that I felt we could do a longer conversation on was the fact that 13 addressed the sinful nature, or the fallen nature of, the fallen nature of man. That was literally the only thing I could figure out, because the rest of the concept behind those principles is pretty damn straightforward.
Yeah, well, but I think that, you know, at the time of the signing of it, you know, there was 3 million people, and, you know, Adam said it was good for 300 million, and it's good today. It's good today as it ever was. The problem is, and we could go round and round about this, and, you know, a lot of the circles that I run in, is that no more laws are going to fix anything. They're not following the laws now.
Right.
There's just no point in all of this. You know, we got to get focused on what we're doing and get focused on headed in the right direction. Mm-hmm. You know, and I love these conversations. Gee, what you might want to consider doing, and it's your channel, you do what you want, but see if there's one of your subscribers out there that wants to jump on one of these with us.
You know what? I was thinking about
it. I would love that.
I was thinking about that. Okay, folks, you know what? If you made it this far in the video, you heard it here.
Yeah.
So if you want to be on one of these videos, here's what you can do. You need to do two things. Number one, go out and look at the principles. Go out. We're at 13 right now. Look at the remaining principles. There's 15 more. Pick one that you're passionate about. Pick one that you really feel you could sink your teeth into, and then let me know you want to be part of that discussion. And we will get you up here, and we will have the discussion with you, and we'll talk about it. I was thinking about that, and I wasn't quite sure. I wasn't quite sure whether to do that or not. You know, I want some guest speakers on here, and I know some of the people that subscribe to this channel because I interact with them in other places, other online communities, and some of them have some very good ideas and some
Yeah.
very good thoughts.
Yeah.
And
Come teach me.
if you've got a subscriber that wants, I mean, if somebody from your channel is watching this and they want to do it, have them contact you or contact me. I don't care. I mean, let's get people involved. I mean, quite honestly, I was afraid if we had too many people on from the circles that we run in, it's going to end up sounding like an echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted Spags on, because his views his views are definitely Spags views and Spags views alone. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't have a problem talking about them. Yeah. You know, that's why I wanted him on there, because he's really good at that. So,
but gee, what better way to spread the message than to have the conversation?
Absolutely.
There are people in your audience right now who know more about this than you or me.
Oh, absolutely.
And then there's the other side. There's also people in the audience who just want to know more. I would be welcome with either.
Right. Okay, so there you go, folks. There's your opportunity. We'll make you famous.
Yeah.
Either that or get you
right.
either that or get you kicked off of YouTube. I mean, it's a crapshoot right now. Tag, you got anything going on in your life that you want to tell people about?
Oh my goodness, I have so much going on. I'm such a busy guy now, and you know, I've been trying. It's funny, for the last 4 years, I've been telling my beautiful bride that I'm about to slow down, and then the problem, you know how I am, right? Yeah. I mean, you know as good as anybody. I have a very hard time stopping. I just not wired like that, and so free setting's taken a lot of my time. You know, we probably, it was funny. I was talking to one of the other partners in this yesterday, and they went to bed and they woke up and there was 2,500 emails waiting for them.
Oh, Jiminy.
And well, I mean, there's just so much stuff going on, and it's funny that most of the questions and stuff we get, people refer to it as, hey, I found this glitch. Like I can't put, type into the event section, for example. Mm-hmm. And it's not a glitch. We just don't turn it on, because if I just open up the events page, I don't know what it looks like. I don't have it all figured out yet. So there's just some controls in there still. But so I've got that going on. Obviously, the YouTube channel. My Bee's been doing this series with Nancy from the Buffalo Seed Company about all the different kinds of seeds and flowers and how to tell the difference between a male and a female, and all of these kind of things. And then obviously my my work life and then the homestead life and all of those things. And it's just an absolute zoo. But it's cool, man. You know what? I'm living life according to my terms.
Absolutely. So a little birdie told me that you're finally moving forward on building the Wapini. Is that true? Is that true?
That is true.
That is true. So there you go. He just literally dug himself, or is digging himself, a great big hole.
Yeah, it's actually, while we're sitting here talking right now, I'm watching out there, and Big Dog's over there in the bulldozer smoothing out some land right now.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome. B will be so happy about that.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be a great thing, but I probably won't do much building this year. If I can get the lines put in, the geothermal lines put in this year, I'll be pretty happy with that. And maybe next year I'll pour concrete. We'll just, have to just see how kind of how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I'm finally tearing that death trap on the front of my house off, that front porch. I'm tearing that off this week. In fact, I'm going to get done recording this, and I'm going to go out and tear it down partially.
When you want to put it back on, you want help?
We're doing it tomorrow.
Okay.
You're going to be someplace else, aren't you?
Not tomorrow. I'm not Sunday. I'm only leaving.
No, we're going to try to do it tomorrow afternoon, because I've only got half a day at work. It's one of the joys of working for a tribal government.
Yeah, why don't you give me a call when you get done with work and figure out where I'm at, and if I can and I'm free enough and you want my help, I'll bug over and help you guys. That's right up my alley. So,
Right, right. Hacks is coming over.
oh, you're in good hands there. So,
They're gonna Mrs. Hacks and Yoda are gonna do canning stuff, and
mm,
because they got 3 bushels of peaches last night, just
mm,
for us. And Hacks got almost as much, from what I understand.
mm.
Um, yeah, so they're gonna be doing canning stuff, and we're gonna be putting stuff. As long as I can get a square frame on it, I can throw the rest of it really quick. I mean, that's
Mhm.
pretty basic stuff there. But we're doing that, and then I'm trying to prioritize different projects to get them done before it starts turning too terribly cold. Um, you know, so we'll see how it goes. We'll
Hey,
see.
I got some good news for you, maybe, or for the community, maybe. I think I might have found us a mini excavator.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I found one that doesn't run. The story that I got was it ran when it parked there, that it had hydraulic issues with some of the hoses and this and that. And so I'm working a deal. I think I can get it bought very, very cheap. I had a conversation with the mechanic. He thinks he can fix it. So I may be able to turn a quick low dollar and end up with a mini excavator for the community. So I'm working
That'd
on
be
it.
awesome. That
Oh
would,
my
oh
God, are you
man,
kidding?
that's a
Oh
game
my
changer.
game
That's
changer.
I've been working on the people next door got that dump truck that's been sitting in that field since we moved in here, and I've been working on them, but there's a language barrier there because they don't habla English very well.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You can count on me for the mini excavator, and I'm going to put you down in the books for the dump truck.
Okay.
Community, right?
Yep. Yep. We'll see what we can do. All right, man. Well, listen, folks. I hope you enjoyed this. Uh,
Always.
Go ahead and share this out with anybody that you feel might need it. Um, or if better yet, if you think it'll upset them, send it to them. Let's get some people. Let's get some people worked up about this, because that's what we need to do. Hit that notification bell, because we've got at least 7 or 8 more weeks of these videos before the series is over, and especially next week, because I'm telling you what, next week. Um, I think next week's probably going to be better than last week's video. Uh, Principle 14 is going to be better than 12 and 11, or 11 and 12. So go ahead and do that. Tag, you got any last words before we sign off?
Yeah, man. Hold the line. Don't give an inch. And then, as we always say,
Go live a lifetime free, folks.
live a lifetime free.
All right. Thanks, Milo.